Hey guys, welcome to the Tech and News. This is Nicholas Bowen. Today we will be talking about Intel's Tension CPUs, their thermals, and breaking down kind of what all their marketing mumbo jumbo is on their i9, i7, i5, and i3s. And then talking about the future of Intel's motherboards and CPUs. Then we're going to jump to AMD's CPUs, all the recent news and rumors about them that's been popping up. And then we're also going to discuss their motherboards a little bit, talk about what their features are versus Intel's, and at the end we're going to have a conclusion on which one you should buy. Let's get started. So first things first, we need to talk about Intel. A lot of rumors were circulating about their thermals of their next gen chips, and rightfully so. The ninth gen chips were running pretty hot overall. And here's a picture of kind of what they've done differently this time around. So thick die, thin IHS, or integrated heat spreader. So this is the die. This is where your cores, threads, cache, all that stuff is located. This time they made it a little bit thicker and bigger, so it has more contact on the IHS. This middle layer is the solder thermal interface material, or STEM. Basically, it's the thermal compound they are using to adhere between the die and the IHS, similar to the IHS to a CPU cooler. So they made this a little bit bigger so it's spread more evenly across the IHS. This gives more contact to the CPU cooler, which helps with thermals. And this is a chart I got from Linus Tech Tips. All the credit goes over to their video. You should check it out. Basically, this is what the i9 10900K and the i5 10600K, which is the two chips that Intel sent out for reviewers. This is how they behave when they are locked. These are the thermals you get right out the box, which is pretty good for a 10-core 20-thread chip. You're getting not even 70C. That'll be slightly better than AMD's offerings on the cooling side, which is quite impressive, I would say. I mean, because of the competition in the market, Intel has finally addressed some of the heating issues with their CPUs, and it's definitely helped, and I hope the competition continues to grow. Now here's a chart on what it looks like when you unlock the CPUs with no limit, which is the yellow. As you can see, it does get up there towards that 93 degrees C. And a lot of this is due to motherboard manufacturers not quite having enough hands-on time with the chips, and this being the first BIOS iteration. From what I've seen through on a video on Jace2Sense YouTube channel website, is that if you unlock them, they seem to put a lot of voltage into the chips and overvolt them a little bit. Like, yes, they hit their boosts. You get a little bit more performance. But if you know anything about overclocking, you'll want to knock down the voltage a bit and you'll get the same speeds, and you'll dip it around the 60 to 80 or the 70 to 80 range, which is still more than acceptable and not in that 90 upper 80s 90C range. And a lot of this is due to the new technology they have. So let's jump into their product stack, shall we? Alright, so let's deep dive into this awful chart that Intel has provided everybody. So let's start off with processor number, the first category. They have a lot of K and KF processors and non-K processors. Essentially, the K means you can overclock with it. The F means it does not have integrated graphics. Okay. So, base clock, that's essentially the lowest clock speeds of all cores. It's the base. It's the baseline. It's where you start. And then we have three different boost technologies. We have Intel Turbo Boost Technology 2.0, which is most relevant on the i5 through i3 stacks. Essentially, that is the fastest one of their cores can go on those CPUs. And then the i7 through the i9 is where that one's semi-relevant, is the Intel Turbo Boost Max Technology 3.0. That is just the newest updated version of that, which is what one single core or possibly two could go to. And then Intel Thermal Velocity Boost Technology Single/All Core Turbo Frequency, What that really means is if you have a good cooler, the i9s can boost a little bit higher, up to 100 megahertz for the all-core and for the single core. And then the all-core frequency, which applies to all of them, that is what all the cores will boost to if they are all being utilized at the same time at 100%. So what you really need to pay attention to for the i5 through i3 is really simple. The base clock, the boost, the all-core boost. Easy. When it gets to the i7, you can really skip the 2.0 technology and jump right to the 3.0. That's what I would do. Then with the i9s it gets tricky, because if you have a really good cooler, which you should for a $500 chip, you could get that thermal velocity technology. If you have a bad cooler, or don't clean out your system at least every 6 months to a year like you should, you know who you are, then you probably want to look at the 3.0. But the all-core boost is what most of us will pay attention to. Even most overclockers try to get all of the cores up to 5.1 or 5.2. The interesting thing is the i3 is similar to the Ryzen 3, 4 cores, 8 threads. i5 is similar to the Ryzen 5, 6 cores, 12 threads. i7 with the 8 cores, 16 threads. Then the i9, they add 2 more cores and 4 more threads, which is basically what they do all the way through the product stack. Where AMD typically adds 2 until they get to past 8 cores and they jump straight to 12 and then 16. Again, different applications for both programs. Intel tends to focus on gaming. Then there's the thermal design, which for the i9s especially, you can take with a grain of salt. You probably want to about triple those numbers when it's actually being utilized, because Intel measures their thermal design or their TDP at the base clock, not at the boost. As I said, the K series are unlocked, so they are overclockable. Sad news for 10th Gen Intel, it will be PCIe 3.0. The good news is most people don't utilize 4.0, so currently it's not the most useful technology. And then memory support, these are the recommended memory specs that you want to be running on 10th Gen Intel to get the best performance. It's not like AMD where it's tied to the Infinity Fabric, and if you guys want me to make a video explaining the differences between how AMD and Intel does things, we'll do so. Processor graphics, as you can tell, the K series or non-Ks or any of the processors not with an F in their naming SKU will have integrated graphics. Which, if you're not into integrated graphics, it is nice for troubleshooting though, keep that in mind. You can save some money and not get integrated graphics and still get the same CPU performance, which if you're on a budget, totally understandable. I run AMD and don't have integrated graphics, and I really haven't had any issues with it. They all support Intel Optane memory, duh. And then pricing, the i9 will probably be around $500. The i7 will probably be around $300 to $320. The i5 10600K will probably be around, I think it'll be around $260 to $240. The KF will be like $30 under that. And then I don't know what the i3s will be. I'm assuming in the $100 to $120 range to compete with the Ryzen 3s would be my best guess. And the nice things also about 10th Gen Intel is the fact that yes, they are not supporting 3.0 with 10th Gen, but 11th Gen will be the same socket. You can still use the Z490 motherboards on them. And as a plus side, because the boards will have support for PCIe 4.0 and 11th Gen will support 4.0, you will get PCIe 4.0 speeds on the 11th Gen. So Intel is finally having a consistent upgrade path, which is incredible. And there's a lot of reasons to consider Intel for gaming or even workstations. They finally have the core to thread count to make them competitive in that market. But there's a question you got to ask yourself. But why is it compelling to go towards AMD, which is what it's in my system? Well, recently the Ryzen 3900X has a price cut. So you see that $500 mark on the i9. They knocked it down to 410. So now you're getting 12 cores, 24 threads for less money on a platform that's already had all the bugs worked out. You don't have that early adopters tax that most people have. Secondly, on that, I mean, you have PCIe Gen 4 support, and if memory speeds for your workstation is something you need, that's going to be an incredible value for you. Especially if, like I said, if you need those speeds on the storage, it's going to be great. The next thing why AMD is kind of compelling is B550 is coming out in June, which will have PCIe 4.0 support, which it's pretty bad when AMD's budget board has a feature that Intel's main boards do not have. And then there's the Ryzen XT rumor. Take this with a grain of salt. There was a rumor with Ryzen 2000. There was a rumor with Ryzen 2000 about a 2800X, so I would ignore it. But here's the product stack. It's looking like 200 megahertz faster here, 300 on the base clock. All around better chips. Although, in my opinion, I would not buy these refreshes, and I don't think AMD should release them. If say they release these in June with B550, which would be a good time to release them together. All they are is better bend. Like the 3900 XT is just a better bend 3900X. Like yes, the 3900X will go down more, possibly. The 3700X will go down, possibly, because the 3800 XT is out. The 3600X might go down. But at the end of the day, you're 2 months after that, you're just going to launch, or 3 months, you're going to launch another CPU, Ryzen 4000, and there's going to be buyer remorse. I just don't think it's a good idea. And then with Ryzen 4000 onto that segment, the nice thing is they just announced that like a week or two ago, MSI confirmed that B450 and X470 will be able to have Ryzen 4000 support. So that means Ryzen 4000 chips will work on those older motherboards now, because the community came together and told them, you guys promised this, and they honored it, which is incredible. Again, there's issues with that. Because BIOS or BIOSes, whatever it's called, are designed for certain chips, it gets to a point eventually with different architectures, different builds, it's going to be more complicated for them to make it work. So there will be select BIOS available to where those BIOSes will work on those motherboards, but you need to make sure you download the right one. You could really screw up your system by downloading the wrong one that doesn't work for your generation of CPU. So it's going to get more difficult for the motherboard manufacturers. But as a consumer, it's an awesome value. You just need to be a bit more perceptive. And make sure you read all the notes, which I know a lot of people don't do. So please read the notes on the BIOS to make sure it supports your chip whenever they come out. It'll be a huge help. So recommendation time. Which one would I recommend? It depends, right? If you're gaming and you gotta have it now, the i5 10600K is what I would go with. If I was working on a workstation, because I've seen the 3700X used, I've seen a couple sell for 200 and most of them for around 250. Which is a little bit less, and you're going to get 8 core 16 threads. Even used, it's around 280, so like $20 to $30 more. You can get 2 more cores, 4 more threads, get that PCIe 4.0 speeds if you need fast memory, or if you need fast storage, and you're going to be able to upgrade to that next gen pretty easily, and it's already guaranteed. And with the Intel side with gaming, you can upgrade to the 11th gen, and then you can have 4.0 speeds. But if you need workstation now, it's better to have 4.0 now than later. But what I would recommend wholeheartedly is wait till September. AMD's next gen CPUs are coming out, next gen GPUs are coming out. It's just all the older stuff's going to drop down in price. So even if you're still on a budget, you can get more bang for your buck. And that's what I'm all about. Like my entire system, I've flipped parts, bought them when someone's just getting rid of them cheap or when they're on sale, and then sell them later for more. It's a great way to upgrade your system consistently. So, but anyway guys, thanks for listening to this video. I know it's a little long. I'll catch you guys next time. If you have any comments, questions, down below. If you want to hit that subscribe button, do what you want. If you want to dislike my video, let me know why. Alright guys, see ya.